Robert Redford is mourning the loss of his son, James. James passed away last week at the age of 58 from bile duct cancer in his liver.
Now, is it true that you're saying you're going to retire after this? Is this the last one?
No, I think that was a mistake if I ever brought that up.
Behind the glimmering facade of Hollywood's silver screen lies the hidden life story of Robert Redford. For almost 90 years, this legendary actor has graced the world with his unparalleled talent, captivating audiences for over 6 decades. But beyond the glamour and fame, Redford's life has been marked by profound loss and heartache. In this video, we uncover the untold story of Robert Redford, delving deep into the personal struggles that have shaped his journey. From his early days to his rise as one of Hollywood's most celebrated stars, we'll explore the hidden truths that lie beneath the surface of this beloved icon. Before we go into his tragic life, let's take a look at his early years. Robert Redford's early life. Born on August 18, 1936, Robert Redford, the son of Martha and Charles Redford, has a unique family dynamic with only one sibling, his paternal half-brother William. Growing up, Robert attended Van Nuys High School, where he had the opportunity to interact with various well-known individuals, such as baseball pitcher Don Dale and Natalie Wood. Despite his charming exterior, Robert was a rebellious student who preferred the company of a group of teenage boys and drew inspiration from art and sports rather than academics. His passion for tennis led him to develop a close friendship with Pancho Gonzalez at the Los Angeles Tennis Club. After high school, Robert enrolled at the University of Colorado in Boulder, but found himself expelled after just a year due to his involvement with the Kappa Sigma fraternity. Undeterred, he embarked on a journey across Europe before eventually pursuing studies in painting at the Pratt Institute in Brooklyn and attending classes at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. Despite facing initial challenges, Robert's determination and resilience enabled him to overcome adversities and navigate through difficult circumstances. As Robert Redford's story continues to unfold, the lingering question remains: can this legendary actor, who has faced profound loss and heartache throughout his life, continue to withstand the emotional turmoil that lies ahead? To uncover the outcome of his journey, keep watching and see how it all plays out. Robert Redford's acting career. Redford's early career, much like that of many stars from the 1950s era, began humbly in the bustling city of New York. He honed his craft as an actor by performing in various venues, including the theater and television, where he showcased his talent and versatility. His first taste of Broadway came in 1959 with a minor role in the production Tall Story. But it was not long before he landed a significant role in the 1963 production of Barefoot in the Park, alongside the talented Elizabeth Ashley, marking a breakthrough in his career. In addition to this, Redford also graced the Broadway stage in other productions such as The Highest Tree and Sunday in New York. Transitioning from the stage to the silver screen, Redford began to take on larger roles in films like Rescue 8 and Breaking Point. In 1965, he received critical acclaim for his portrayal of a bisexual movie star in Inside Daisy Clover, a performance that earned him a Golden Globe Award. Redford's early film roles often depicted him as the stereotypical blonde male, a typecasting that he was quick to notice. To break free from this image, he became more selective in the roles he chose, opting for characters that challenged his acting abilities. This led him to embrace a new persona in his role in Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, where he portrayed an intelligent and sarcastic protagonist. As the 1970s unfolded, Redford found commercial success in films like Jeremiah Johnson and The Sting, solidifying his reputation as a prominent Hollywood figure and a versatile performer. In the 1980s, he ventured into directing, achieving critical acclaim with his directorial debut in Ordinary People, which earned him numerous awards, including Best Director. Throughout the late 1990s and early 2000s, Redford continued to diversify his filmography with roles in projects like The Last Castle, Spy Game, and The Clearing, showcasing his range as an actor. A standout moment in his career came with his portrayal of a villain in Captain America: The Winter Soldier, a role in which he excelled. Despite a successful career in acting, Redford eventually announced his retirement from the profession, leaving behind a legacy of remarkable performances. However, he left the door open for a potential return to the screen in the future. Robert Redford's personal life. It has been widely observed and noted by fans and critics alike that Robert Redford often took on the role of the romantic leading man in many of his films. His on-screen persona, as a charming and passionate lover, seemed to resonate with audiences, drawing them in with his charismatic performances. Interestingly, this portrayal of the romantic man was not just a facade for Redford, as his real-life love story with Lola Van Wagenen proves. Their love story began when they tied the knot on August 9, 1958, in a private ceremony in Las Vegas. While the details of their wedding reception in Vegas remain a mystery, a second celebration was held at Lola's grandmother's home on September 12, 1958. Together, Robert and Lola built a family and welcomed 4 children into their lives: Scott Anthony Redford, Shauna Jean Redford, David James Redford, and Amy Hart Redford. Despite their initial commitment to each other, Robert and Lola's marriage eventually came to an end in 1982, when they decided to part ways. While the news of their divorce was not immediately made public, rumors began to circulate in the entertainment industry. It was not until 1985 that their split was confirmed, with reports suggesting that they had been living separately for several years before making it official. Following his divorce from Lola, Robert Redford found love once again with Sibylle Sagers. The couple had been in a committed relationship since 1991, before finally tying the knot on July 11, 2009, in a beautiful ceremony in Germany. Their long-lasting partnership and eventual marriage came as a surprise to many, but for Redford and Sagers, it was a natural progression of their love story. Robert Redford contracted polio as a kid. Now that we know more about Robert Redford's life and achievements since becoming famous in the 1950s, we can better understand the sad events and losses he experienced during his almost 90 years. Although Redford is admired and strong, his life has had difficult times, making his story even more interesting and inspiring. Robert Redford is known to be a reserved individual, and limited information is available about him. However, it came as a surprise to many when, in 2011, he decided to work with author Michael Feeney Callan on a biography detailing his eventful life. In this biography, Redford recounted various captivating events from his life, including his battle with polio during childhood. For those unfamiliar with the severity of polio, this disease is debilitating, often leading to paralysis, respiratory difficulties, and sometimes even death. Before the development of the polio vaccine in the 1950s, individuals severely affected by the disease often had to spend their lives in iron lungs. Despite contracting polio in the 1930s or 1940s, when the vaccine was unavailable, Redford explained that his case was considered mild and did not require confinement to an iron lung. However, he still faced 2 weeks of bed rest as a result of the illness. Redford contracted polio after swimming in the ocean, realizing he had the disease when he struggled to open his eyes and move his body one morning. Although he was not paralyzed, he found movement challenging during this period. He also expressed that being sick with polio in the mid-1940s was particularly frightening, indicating the level of fear he experienced during those 2 weeks of being confined to bed. In 2014, Redford honored the inventor of the polio vaccine, Jonas Salk, through his involvement in a short film called Cathedrals of Culture. This 3D documentary focused on the San Diego Salk Institute for Biological Studies and was directed by none other than Robert himself, showcasing his commitment to raising awareness about the disease and its impact on individuals. He nearly died in a dare gone wrong. During his youthful stage, Robert Redford was depicted as a notorious teenage troublemaker, a characterization that held due to his involvement in a teenage gang during his formative years. Despite eventually becoming a revered Hollywood icon, Redford's youth was colored by rebellion and defiance. Coming of age in post-World War II America, he found himself engulfed in a society tainted by heightened racism, which often led to his participation in race-related gang conflicts. Moreover, Redford endured bullying for his attendance at a prestigious school and his success in track competitions. One defining moment in Redford's youth occurred when a member of his gang, together with a former tormentor, dared him to jump off a tall building as a test of courage. Fueled by a determination to prove his mettle, Redford accepted the challenge and narrowly escaped with only minor broken bones after the leap. This daring act solidified his position within the gang and only served to escalate his delinquent behaviors. Sadly, this reckless path led Redford to experiment with drugs, such as marijuana and hashish, as well as engage in illegal drag racing in California, despite the inherent dangers involved. Despite the mounting risks and repercussions, Redford persisted in his dangerous lifestyle. A pivotal moment arose when he crashed his car while en route to a drag race, miraculously emerging from the wreckage with his life intact. This near-death experience served as a wake-up call for Redford, prompting a moment of reflection and gratitude for his survival amidst the chaos of his youth. Robert Redford was only 18 years old when he tragically lost his mother. Despite his rebellious nature as a teenager, Redford acknowledged that his mother always stood by his side, offering unwavering support and belief in his potential to succeed. Even though he made things difficult for his parents, Martha Redford's faith and instincts never wavered. Her belief in her son proved to be correct when he found success in Hollywood in 1955. Tragically, Martha's life was cut short due to a hemorrhage caused by a blood disorder that arose from the stillbirth of her twin daughters 8 years earlier. She passed away at the young age of 40, just as Robert was transitioning into adulthood and recovering from contracting polio. Despite her untimely death, Robert Redford continues to speak of his mother with reverence and gratitude, recognizing her unwavering support and positive outlook. At the 2018 Sundance Film Festival, which he founded, Redford emotionally paid tribute to his mother, honoring her impact on his life and career. He also made sure to recognize Martha at the Utah Women's Leadership Celebration that same year, highlighting her influence on his success and resilience in the face of adversity. The love and encouragement Martha Redford provided her son continues to inspire him today, shaping his legacy in Hollywood and beyond. He lost his second father figure. Before the passing of his mother, young Robert had already begun grappling with grief at a very tender age. The profound sense of loss that accompanies the death of a loved one was something he had to confront early on in life. The loss of his mother was just one of the many instances where fate dealt Robert Redford a handful of sorrow and grief. Even before this tragic event, he had already experienced the pain of losing a father figure, adding to his reservoir of sorrow. Growing up, Robert was raised by both of his parents, Martha and Charles. However, due to Charles's demanding job as a milkman, also known as a diligent accountant, who worked long and grueling hours, Robert did not have as much time with his father as he would have liked. Fortunately, he found solace and guidance in the form of his Uncle David, who stepped in as a second father figure during those formative years. David and Robert forged a strong bond, engaging in father-son activities and spending quality time together. At first, it seemed like Robert's life was on a positive trajectory, with his close relationship with Uncle David bringing him comfort and stability. However, tragedy struck once again when David, his beloved second father figure, lost his life during World War II. Drafted into General Patton's Third Army, David was tragically caught in a crossfire while crossing the Luxembourg Bridge in a Jeep in 1945. His untimely death left a profound void in Robert's life, robbing him of a mentor and role model whom he greatly admired. Uncle David was a remarkable individual who would have been an inspiration to anyone who had the privilege of knowing him. An all-American athlete with a talent for languages, he possessed a diverse skill set and lived his life to the fullest. Reflecting on the loss of Uncle David during an interview in 2013, Robert Redford expressed the family's approach to dealing with the tragedy. He noted that the family coped by remaining silent on the subject, avoiding asking too many questions, and allowing the event to unfold without much discussion. Robert Redford got expelled from college. As the adage goes, our choices shape our destiny for better or worse. Even the most illustrious among us, like Robert Redford, cannot escape the consequences of their decisions. Despite his seemingly inevitable rise to greatness, Redford's journey is a testament to the fact that no one is immune to life's challenges and heartaches. His choice to remain in the gang throughout his early adolescence and participate in all of their illicit activities ultimately resulted in his expulsion from college. According to the biography he co-authored with Michael, Robert graduated from high school in 1954 with average grades but an impressive athletic resume. Remember we said he was so good at the track that he was bullied because of it? Fortunately, the University of Colorado at Boulder accepted him into their first choice of university due to his athleticism. He was drawn to the school because of its baseball program and the possibility of receiving a sports scholarship should he excel as a player. But when school started, he had to put more of an emphasis on his art studies and gave up on his interest in baseball. Robert Redford had closed himself off to the outside world and found it difficult to make friends. But after he joined the fraternity Kappa Sigma and became friends with a senior member who encouraged him to socialize more and work on his art, this all changed. Even though this new friendship had its benefits, it would ultimately be the cause of his downfall. It was particularly difficult for Robert because he had become friends with a senior who was essentially the same as his gang members. Old habits die hard. Robert was not a new man. He was merely giving up his criminal ways after an encounter with the police when he was a teenager. Soon, he was back to his old habits with the aid of his new friend, drag racing instead of studying, drinking excessively and carelessly, and pulling practical jokes. As a result, he ultimately lost his scholarship and was forced to leave the University of Colorado after just 1.5 years. There was no doubt that this would have been disastrous. Though it came at the expense of his scholarship, he was able to establish a reputation as a party boy. Nevertheless, Robert managed to turn the lemons life handed him into a delicious drink. He visited many places in Europe, studied painting in Florence, and subsequently moved to Paris. He later attended the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, NADA, in New York, to further his studies. This decision would ultimately lead him down a path that would shape his future career as an actor and filmmaker, despite the challenges he faced along the way. He lost his first child to crib death. Imagine waking up to discover a child who was healthy the previous day, suddenly dead in his crib. Robert spent a considerable amount of time learning how to paint after being expelled from university. It seemed like everything was going well for the actor, even after he began performing in New York. In the late 1950s, he was already married to Lola Van Vagenen, and nothing tragic had happened in their relationship. In addition, he made his Broadway debut in Tall Story and had recently welcomed Scott, his first son, into his family. To put it briefly, the star's life was going fantastically. After years of suffering and mourning, it would appear to anyone watching that this was finally his chance to relax and enjoy himself. But that was not the case. Scott Redford died of sudden infant death syndrome a few months after his birth, SIDS. Scott's cause of death remained unknown, as it does for every child who suffers from SIDS. There are numerous possible causes for this. Individuals experienced different levels of grief when losing a child, and Robert blamed himself for not having checked on his child sooner. Being the private man that he was, he kept this grief and guilt to himself. Before he opened up about his grief over the death of his child, he had been silent for over 50 years. Robert talked candidly about the death of his child, in an interview from 2011. He discussed how challenging this was for him and his spouse in particular because they were young and he did not have a well-paying job. "We didn't know anything about sudden infant death syndrome, so as a parent, you blame yourself. It creates a scar that never completely heals," he said. Robert would have found this extremely difficult because, in addition to the other losses he had suffered, he had also lost his twin sisters more than 10 years prior. This tragic event had a profound impact on Robert's life, shaping his outlook and causing him deep emotional pain that he carried with him for many years. His second son almost died. It is truly unimaginable the level of mental anguish and heartache that Robert Redford must have experienced after the devastating loss of his first son. The thought of facing the possibility of losing his second son within just 3 short years is absolutely gut-wrenching. The pain and terror that must have consumed him during this time is beyond comprehension. Despite the tragedy of losing their first son, Redford and his spouse faced even more challenges as they expanded their family. Their second son, James Redford, from an early age, battled a myriad of health issues, from a severe case of hyaline membrane disease as a baby to ongoing struggles with colitis, infections, digestive disorders, and blood flow problems throughout his life. James faced constant health battles. By the time James was 31 years old in 1993, he required a liver transplant due to complications from his colitis. Unfortunately, even after the transplant, his health continued to deteriorate, requiring further medical interventions. The constant fear of losing another child must have been unbearable for Redford and his wife, especially as they also faced the health issues of Lola, Redford's partner. The strain of dealing with the potential loss of both their children and Lola's health problems must have been almost too much to bear. The constant unease and anxiety that the family must have felt during this tumultuous period is truly heart-wrenching to consider. One of his daughter's boyfriends was murdered. As if all of these setbacks and scares were not enough, Robert and his family experienced yet another tragedy in 1983. This time, the sadness was focused primarily on his daughter Shauna, who attended the University of Colorado before pursuing her artistic career. Despite the university deciding against banning her outright, Shauna quickly made headlines for all the wrong reasons. The tragic incident involving her boyfriend, a journalism student, being shot inexplicably in the back of his head in his University of Colorado apartment left many unanswered questions surrounding the murder case. The primary suspect, Thane Smika, who shared a room with the victim and had financial motives, was taken into custody but ultimately released due to insufficient evidence. The mysterious disappearance of Smika in 1986, after his car was found abandoned in Beverly Hills, only added to the speculation of his involvement in Sid Wells's death. The case was brought back to light in 2020, with new evidence surfacing, once again implicating Smika. Despite age-progressed mugshots being released, Smika remains at large, leaving the case unresolved and haunting Robert. Robert's decision to attend Sid Wells's funeral, despite his fears of the press and paparazzi, demonstrated his deep sense of grief and respect for the victim. He expressed his ongoing struggle with Wells's passing, likening the unsolved case to a partially open door leading to a pitch-black room of uncertainty and unanswered questions. The lingering mystery surrounding Sid Wells's murder continues to weigh heavily on Robert and his family as they grapple with the unresolved tragedy and the elusive suspect, Thane Smika. He lost Natalie Wood, who was a close friend. Van Nuys was the birthplace of Natalie Wood, as well as Robert Redford and other legendary figures. Among the well-known people who attended Van Nuys High School was the movie legend Natalie Wood. Despite both being students at the same school, Natalie and Robert led quite different lives at the time and were not very familiar with one another. Natalie, who made appearances in movies like Miracle on 34th Street, and was on her way to receiving an Oscar nomination, was already well-known and a child star at a young age. On the other hand, Robert Redford was more known for being an athlete and a troublemaker during his time at Van Nuys High School. Their paths crossed when they co-starred as lovers in films like Inside Daisy Clover and This Property is Condemned in the 1960s, which led to the development of a strong friendship off-screen. Robert even served as Natalie's best man at one of her weddings. Natalie Wood played a crucial role in Robert Redford's Golden Globe-winning portrayal of Wade Lewis in Inside Daisy Clover, as she had suggested him to Warner Brothers. Sadly, their close friendship came to an end with Natalie's sudden passing in 1981. Tragically, Natalie, who had a fear of the water, met her untimely demise while on a boat outing with her spouse, Robert Wagner, and actor Christopher Walken around Catalina Island. Even after more than 40 years, the circumstances surrounding her death remain shrouded in mystery. Robert Redford was devastated by the loss of his friend, who was only 43 years old at the time of her passing. Despite his reserved nature, Robert has always been open about his friendship and bond with Natalie Wood. Reflecting on the impact her friendship had on his life, Robert's only regret is that they did not have more time together to create lasting memories. He and his wife parted after 30 years. The widely held belief that celebrities are incapable of sustaining long-term committed relationships was shattered by the enduring love story of Robert Redford and Lola Van Wagner. Despite the challenges and tragedies they faced, their marriage stood the test of time and was considered one of the most stable in Hollywood during the 1980s. After the heartbreaking loss of their first child, instead of allowing it to tear them apart, Robert and Lola found strength in each other and went on to have 3 more children, Shauna, James, and Amy. Their ability to weather such a devastating loss and continue to build their family is a testament to the depth of their love and commitment to each other. In 2001, after 16 years of marriage, Robert and Lola made the difficult decision to part ways. Despite the end of their romantic relationship, they chose to handle the separation with grace and respect, remaining close friends and continuing to show affection for each other even after their divorce. Their mature and respectful approach to their breakup undoubtedly played a significant role in helping their children navigate the changes with resilience and strength. Robert and Lola's love story began long before Robert achieved fame and success. Their marriage was not only a testament to their love for each other, but also a way for Robert to prove his doubting family wrong. Despite the challenges they faced, they remained committed to each other for a significant period before ultimately deciding to go their separate ways. After their divorce, Robert found love again and remarried a German artist in 2009. It may have taken some time for him to take that leap of faith again, but ultimately, he found happiness and companionship once more. His ability to move forward and find love again speaks to the resilience and strength of his spirit. James Redford died from liver cancer. Life was not finished with Robert Redford, even though he had just started to appreciate the dawn of his existence. For him, pain might be the most common way he would end his life. James Redford, Robert Redford's son, passed away in the latter half of 2020. Robert Redford, the pain of losing a child is immense, and the pain of losing 2 would be indescribable. Following the death of his second son, Robert Redford undoubtedly experienced that. It seemed like there might be hope for the future when James Redford overcame his childhood medical problems. Everything would work itself out beautifully, particularly following his second liver transplant. In contrast, the Redford family's situation was different. Not even a parent who has 2 children wants to outlive them. However, James, who was 58 years old, lost his life to liver cancer in October 2020. James was only 3 years old when Scott died, and his birth scared his parents a great deal because they thought he would die too, just like his brother. To the amazement of family members, he did, however, survive. In 2019, he received a bile duct cancer diagnosis while awaiting another transplant. It took him a year to pass away from his illness. James had established an institute intending to raise public awareness of the process of liver transplantation. He was wed to Kyle, and the 2 of them shared 2 kids. It was Kyle Redford who first tweeted about her husband's tragic passing. This is the terrible life Robert Redford has lived throughout his life. He continued to be optimistic and strong-willed despite spreading his optimism throughout the world. Despite the pain and sorrow that life has brought him, Robert Redford will continue to shine brightly, reminding us all of the power of resilience and the importance of cherishing every moment we have with those we love. Through the lens of fame and success, it's easy to forget that even Hollywood legends are not immune to life's cruelest blows. Robert Redford, known for his golden looks and iconic roles, has weathered a storm of unimaginable grief. Behind the awards and applause lies a father's broken heart, a man who has faced loss not once, but twice, in the most painful way imaginable. Yet, in the midst of sorrow, Redford has continued to use his platform for good, advocating for environmental causes and independent filmmaking through his Sundance Institute. He has transformed personal tragedy into purpose, quietly honoring the legacy of his sons through philanthropy and storytelling. Friends and colleagues have often remarked on Redford's quiet strength, his humility, and his refusal to be consumed by bitterness. While the weight of losing both Scott and James will never fully lift, he carries their memory with grace, allowing it to shape his work and worldview. Redford's enduring presence serves as a powerful reminder that life, no matter how heartbreaking, must still be lived with courage and conviction. In every role he plays and every cause he supports, there's a piece of his son's spirits guiding him forward, a legacy of love that will never fade. What do you think about Robert Redford's life tragedies? Don't forget to comment below and also check out other fascinating videos. Till next time.